What is up, guys? Tick here, and I thought I would give you guys a Witcher 3 first impressions video. Witcher 3 is a brand new fantasy open world RPG game that released about a week ago now from CD Projekt Red, the developers. It's been out for about a week now, and I thought I would offer my first opinions on it, my first impressions on it. In case this is a game that you guys are maybe considering buying or not really sure about, or maybe you weren't considering it and you've kind of noticed the hype and the attention that this game has been getting, of which there's been a ton. And maybe if you're in one of those two boats, then maybe this game can be this impressions video can be somewhat helpful to you. I've played about 100 hours of this game, maybe slightly over 100 hours or so, and maybe a quarter of that has been dedicated towards the main story. So about 20-25 hours is being dedicated towards the main story of this particular game. And I'll get into why that the difference is so big in a sec, but I feel like I played enough to offer a fairly decent, a fairly informed opinion about this game. Hopefully you guys will agree. But we'll get into this. I'll talk about what I like, what I don't like, what things I'd like to change, then overall my opinions and whether I think this is a game that I would recommend. I haven't played any of the previous Witcher games. I didn't play Witcher 1 or 2. This is the first Witcher game that I was going into. But naturally, I was a bit apprehensive and a bit concerned about whether I was even going to understand what the hell was going on. That was a big concern for me. So if you are in that boat, if you were kind of in the similar sort of a mindset or mind frame, rest assured I was too. And rest assured that probably the biggest benefit of this game, or the biggest positive of this game, and the one thing that I really like, that this game is very, very welcoming to new players. Right off the bat, before you even put the game into your disc tray, I'm talking obviously about the physical copy of the game. You get a compendium, which is a document that ships along with the game itself. And what that does is it has a lot of really good background information of the actual game itself. Important characters, the backstory, what a Witcher even is. I didn't know what a Witcher was. A Witcher is a professional monster slayer that people hire to help kill specific monsters. That's essentially what a Witcher is. I didn't know that until I read the compendium. So there's some good background information that the game gives you before you even before you even start playing the game, which is very much appreciated. Additionally, the game's prologue is also full of a couple of cutscenes that do a really good job of explaining the backstory, explaining the lore, and explaining really sort of the Witcher's role in this particular world, this particular universe. So it's definitely very much appreciated if you're someone like me who really had no idea what was going on. The game does a really good job of just throwing you in relatively gently so that you're not completely overwhelmed. Additionally, what the game does well in the prologue is it offers a really good set of tutorials. These tutorials are very, very handy. This is a fairly complex RPG. There's combat, there's magic, signs. The magic is called signs in this game. And there's other various different aspects of this game too. Things like crafting, making your own armor, making your own potions and bombs and all whatnot. And a lot of that stuff, admittedly, was quite overwhelming to me until I started doing the tutorials, which are really well designed, and they do a really good job of just holding your hand and making sure that you're comfortable with the game early on, and that's very, very much a good thing. The main story in this game is really good. It's really, really interesting. I have put about 20 to 25 hours into the story right now, and I constantly want to just keep playing more. I constantly want to try the next mission, and then the mission after that, and then the mission after that. It just has me hooked right now. It's really, really interesting. It's full of some really interesting characters. But what I like about it the most is the premise behind the story is very, very simple. Not to spoil it for you guys, I don't want to offer any spoilers here, but there is basically the story surrounds your character, Geralt, looking for someone who's very close to him. That's largely all I'm going to say. It's a very simple premise. The game does a really good job early on of establishing who the characters in this game are that are important to your particular character, that are important to Geralt. So you know who's important to you. And if you want to kind of find out more, like why these particular characters are important to you, well, that's the incentive of wanting to carry on and play the story. That's really how the game is set up. It's nice and simple. Nice simple story where you're searching after someone. I really like the premise. I really like that the premise is simple. There's a lot of open world games. Assassin's Creed Unity comes to mind immediately as one. I guess you can throw GTA in there as well. These big open world games that have all sorts of fun things to do and encourage you to go and explore and experiment and do this stuff. But when you go ahead and do the main story, because that main story is so complex and convoluted and full of just really boring characters and tons of characters, what ends up happening is you find that story really difficult to sort of pay attention to. And this was a real issue with me with Assassin's Creed Unity. I just wasn't invested in the story at all. But because this particular story in The Witcher 3 is a nice, simple story, one that's really easy to understand and follow, you can go ahead and do things like I'm doing now, going out, wandering about, experimenting, seeing different parts of this map. And because the story is so simple and easy to follow, you can come back and really pick up the story whenever you want. Which really is a testament to a really well-designed story. I played about 20 or so hours of the story. If you're wondering why I played so few hours compared to the 100 or so hours that I put into the game, the reason for that is because this world is massive. And I'll just show you the map, give you an idea of scale. This world is massive, and there are so many things to do and so many things to see, and all sorts of different side quests and secondary quests that you can get yourself involved with. I mean, I put 100 or so hours into this game, and you can already get an idea of all the check marks. These check marks are essentially regions that I haven't visited yet. So you can see there's so many of them, so many areas that I haven't visited yet, and this is just one section of the map. Right? White Orchard is another section that I've largely cleared out already. Right, so this is one relatively large area that I've already cleared out. And then you've obviously got a secondary section here. I haven't even scratched this part yet. So this is a huge open world. And the reason why you want to explore it so much is because there's so many things you can do, so many things that you can see. And on top of that, the secondary quests are fantastic. And this is what I want to talk about a little bit as far as positives go. The secondary quests in a lot of these open world games, again, you can think about GTA, again, you can think about Assassin's Creed. They're generic, they're really boring, they're not all that interesting, and largely they feel like they're thrown in just as kind of content, as content filler. Stuff that's kind of chucked in just to give you something to do. You do not get that feel in this particular game. In this particular game, you get the sense that the secondary stories were really well designed. The secondary stories, there's a lot of care and attention that was put into this kind of stuff. What level am I? I don't even know if I should be facing this guy. They're fantastic. The writing is really good. The design is really good. There's a huge variety in them as well. One of the earlier quests that I did involved me breaking into a woman's house to steal her own frying pan. Like, that was essentially what the quest was. It was just some really simple sort of quest. And some of the others are just really complex sort of murder mystery quests, which are really cool to do. I recently completed a quest that involved one of the main characters in the game. It involved a secondary quest that you could do to help kind of take care of his family. And I just went ahead and did that and completed it just a few minutes ago. And the ending was just heartbreaking. Like, it was really well done. And you don't get that. You don't get that from other games. It's just really impressive the way that they've designed a lot of the secondary quests in the game. And this reason why I've really been going off the beaten path. To put it mildly, The Witcher 3's world is big, it's massive. A lot of super cool, super interesting things that you can do in this particular game. But it never feels too big. And a part of the reason why it doesn't ever feel too big is because you have the ability to walk around this place with your horse, and because there's a really good fast travel system built into this game as well, which means that you can travel around these large open worlds really quickly without having to worry about getting to one end of the map to the other on foot or by horse. The other final positive I wanted to discuss was Gwent. Gwent is the mini-game card game in this particular world. Anyone who's familiar with Magic cards will know what Gwent is all about. It's essentially a form of Magic the Gathering, which is just a ton of fun. It's really addicting. And I've put just a shameful amount of hours into playing Gwent in this game that I really don't care to admit. is too much fun. That's all I can say about it. The other thing that I want to talk about is choice, and this will be, I think, my last positive is choice. The game has choices, but they feel really, really organic, really, really interesting. If you look at games like maybe The Witcher, not The Witcher 3, sorry. Well, I'm talking about The Witcher 3, idiot. If you look at games like Telltale's Game of Thrones, or Telltale's The Walking Dead, or the Wolf Among Us, if you look at those sorts of games, a lot of their choices are spelled out for you as soon as you make them, right? So you go ahead and you make a decision, you make a choice, and the game will tell you, hey, look, your choice, Clementine will remember that, or Tyrion didn't like that, or Marjorie approves of your action, right? The game kind of spills out that you've made a pretty important choice. Mass Effect 3 was another game that was really driven by player choice. The issue with Mass Effect 3 was that Mass Effect 3 used to spill out to you very, very regularly that a big choice was coming, that you always knew when a huge plot point, a huge story point was about to come. And that was something that Mass Effect 3 never really hid away from. The Witcher 3 does a fantastic job, just a fantastic job of disguising its choices. You will be doing something and you will not know whether you're making a really important decision, whether you're making a really minor decision, or whether your decision that you're making is really inconsequential. There's a lot of things that you do that are inconsequential, and additionally there's a lot of things that you do that can decide the fate of someone, whether someone lives or whether someone dies. The trick here is that it is disguised so well, and that really is a testament to just how well the whole design about player choice is implemented into this game. For example, I went ahead and I saved a character. I saved a character early on in the game, and later on I saw him later on, several hours later, coming back and committing crimes. So I went ahead and saved him when probably the smarter decision to do was to, turn him in, go for the more of like the show him justice type of response. The other one I did, and this was one of the bigger ones that I did, and it kind of shows you there's no real black and white kind of decision in this game. No Paragon, Renegade, no light side, dark side, whatever terminology you guys are familiar with. Was I released a spirit that promised to save a bunch of kids. And that spirit went ahead and saved a bunch of kids. But what it also did... Whoa, easy there, horsey. But what it also ended up doing was later on down the game, it also ended up killing a pretty important character in the game. And I just wasn't prepared for that. I wasn't aware of that. So when you think you're making the real right decision, oftentimes you don't know how important that decision is until it's way too late. And that thing in there is pretty damn massive. Before I go and take him on, though, let's head back out here. The choices in this game are fabulous. They are organic. They feel real. You don't know how important the decision is that you're gonna make, and that often leads to these decisions feeling so special and so unique. Unlike games like Mass Effect and Telltale, where decisions are often spelled out for you. But let's talk about a couple things that I don't really like in this game, and there are a few. And the first thing that I want to talk about is the inventory system. Hopefully you guys have played a game like Destiny, right? Destiny, if you guys have played it, hopefully you guys have. If you haven't, go ahead and Google it. Google like Destiny inventory or something like that. Hopefully you'll be able to find it. Maybe look it up on YouTube. And what you'll see in Destiny is a fantastic inventory system where all of your stuff is separated into really nice organized sort of buckets or categories, right? Your primary weapons are together, your secondary weapons are together, your heavy ammo, your heavy weapons are together, helmets are together, boots, gauntlets, chest pieces, clothing, consumables. It's all separated into very nice categories, and it makes managing your inventory just a really nice piece of cake. That is not the case in The Witcher 3. The Witcher 3 has essentially 5 general equipment slots. 5 general inventory slots. And these are them. So all of your equipment is lumped into here. All of your usable items are lumped into here. All of your alchemy and crafting, and we'll get into that in a second. So all of the stuff that you can use to make things like bombs or potions or oils or armor lumped into here. You have quest items, and then you have all of your random shit. This is a terrible system. There's just no order at all to the way that a lot of this stuff is bunched up. And it's really, really disappointing. And quite frankly, it's a chore trying to work through a lot of the inventory. My equipment inventory probably doesn't look all that bad right now because I don't have much. Let's have a look. Yeah, I don't have too much. So generally you can see that my swords here are relatively together. My chest pieces are relatively together. My arrows are relatively together. It's not too bad in this particular case. But when your inventory is full, this can get wacky and you can have stuff going everywhere. This order, there's just no order at all. There's none, and it's really, really disappointing, and it makes it an absolute chore to go through some of these things if you're looking for something specific, right? So if I, for example, I run into a particular merchant who is selling me mandrake root, right? Just as an example, mandrake root for cheap, and I want to know if I have enough mandrake root. I mean, where the hell do I look? I mean, I have to look through all of this crap in order to find mandrake root, and I don't know. I don't know. Like, is it done by the alphabetical order? Nope. Is there any order here? Nope. Right, and it's just it's miserable. And there, it's right there. I just happen to know it because I recognize the picture. But I mean, it's terrible. It's a terrible design, and it really, really is poor. I'm not a fan of it at all. I don't know how to improve it though. Like I like the way Destiny has done theirs, where everything just kind of gets split up into some really specific categories. And I wish this game had the common sense to do that, because this is just, it's a jumbled mess. Let's talk about alchemy and crafting. So in The Witcher 3, before I do that, let's quickly get a save in here. Before I do that, Witcher 3 has some really cool systems in play here. There's an alchemy system, which is this particular system, which lets you create a whole bunch of things like bombs or oils or potions. You know, these give your character all sorts of different buffs and abilities, whereas bombs, you know, they serve the way you would expect bombs to work. And there's also a cool crafting system here too, which lets you build your own armor, things like trousers or chest pieces or boots, right? So your own swords, for example. This is cool. I like this stuff. The problem here, and we'll get into it, the problem here is that the system behind this isn't very good. So let's just say, for example, I want to... Is there any oils here that we can make? Anything here that we can make? Maybe a bomb or so? Doesn't look like there is. Okay, this is probably a good example then. So I've got this potion called... Now we'll use something else. Spectre oil, right? I want to make Spectre oil, right? This is what I need. I need bear fat and I need an arenaria, which looks like some sort of flower, right? Pretty straightforward, right? Makes a lot of sense. Except the game doesn't even bother telling me where I can get the arenaria flower from. It tells me it's an alchemy ingredient, but that's all it tells me. It doesn't tell me that I can get a flower from a specific region of the map. Is this a flower that grows near lakes and oceans, for example? By rivers, for example? I don't know. Is this something that I can only purchase off of a herbalist? I don't know. It just doesn't give you that information at all. And you would generally find this to be the case with a lot of things in this game, where the information they provide you is very much lacking. So assassin's boots, for example. In order to make these boots, I need some thread. I don't know where to get the thread from. The game just doesn't bother telling you, which is a real shame. It really is a shame. The opposite end of this is also true. So if I go into my inventory and I go into all of the stuff that is used for alchemy and crafting, there is just no information here whatsoever on what, for example, a monster egg does. It doesn't tell me where I can get a monster egg, but it also doesn't tell me how this is involved in things like crafting or alchemy. Is a monster egg, for example, used in making chest armor or gloves or boots or trousers? It doesn't tell you. Swords? It doesn't tell you. And that is a shame. That really is a shame, because what ends up happening then is this alchemy system and crafting system essentially boils down to me doing exactly what I'm doing now. So just kind of scouring the world, exploring, experimenting, and eventually when I find it convenient, popping into the alchemy charts and checking to see if I have enough materials to make one of these things. And it looks like I've accumulated enough to make a green mutagen. So we'll go ahead and make that. Done. Why can I make the green mutagen? I can make it accidentally because I've accidentally accumulated enough so that I can make whatever it is. And that is essentially what most of this entire system... Oh, there you go. Werewolf decoction. I can make this now. Why can't I make it? Because I've accidentally stumbled into the right ingredients and the right amount of their ingredients in order for me to make it. There you go. And now it's made. So this entire alchemy and entire crafting system essentially boils down to a trial and error system, which is really disappointing. It's a cool system to make. It is cool and fun to be able to make things. There is a really neat mechanic in this game, and I'll show you here, where all the enemies that you meet, this is a good one, all the enemies that you meet have specific vulnerabilities. So you can see this werewolf creature, the Ulf Hedin, is vulnerable to moon dust bombs, devil's puffball bombs, and cursed oil, as well as specific magic, right? These are things that if I know I'm going to face this kind of enemy, I want to be able to make. But of course, because I've already showed you the system here behind it, we don't actually know how to make these things. And that's where the frustration can come into regarding the crafting and the alchemy. It's not a good system. It's really frustrating. Really, really frustrating. But anyway, I think I've hammered down that point. No need to go on it anymore. Let's talk about combat. Combat is okay in this game. It is okay. It is not terrible, but it's not great. And one of the reasons why it's not, I think a lot of people have already pointed this out sort of online, is because Geralt's attacks are largely animation locked. And what that means is the various different things that you do are locked in animation until they're finished. So if I'm drawing my sword and I'm going to attack someone, I have to complete the entire animation before I can string together another animation, which can be particularly problematic into multiple enemies. And this game rather routinely throws you up against multiple enemies at the same time. Let's not fuck around with that thing. Assassin's Creed, again, really good example of a game where... Is there a sign here somewhere? Assassin's Creed is another example of a game where the combat system, and they've used the combat system for a really, really long time now, and the reason why they've used it for a really, really long time is because it works, right? The Assassin's Creed combat system works. You can go from a quick attack to a long attack to a parry to a defense to a counterattack, all within a couple of clicks, all within a couple of button presses. That isn't the case in The Witcher 3. In The Witcher 3, a lot of that gets bogged down to really just button spamming. Now, the good thing about combat is the use of your magic or your signs. That stuff is a lot of fun, particularly when you can get some of the upgraded ones. My fire spell called Igni is quite strongly upgraded now, so I can essentially burn a lot of enemies that I face without really having to pull out the sword or do any sword damage, which is really, really, really nice. It could be better. I'm not gonna lie. Combat could be better in this game. It's a shame because you get into a ton of combat while you play The Witcher 3. And it's just, it'd be nice if it felt a little bit more responsive and a little bit fresh. It doesn't. It feels a little bit clunky. Movement in general feels a little bit clunky in this game, but you can generally get away with it. It's not something that is, you know, terribly, terribly bad. Bugs, generally, there are a few save game bugs that I know they're aware of. It hasn't really hit me with the exception of maybe losing 10 to 15 minutes of save game footage. But other than that, I haven't really been affected by it. I think yesterday I had a bug where my sword wasn't on my back. It was kind of following me. But all those sort of visual hitches, I think they're aware of, and they're going to get rid of in an upcoming patch. So it's not too bad. The final thing that I'm going to talk about, and this is something that I think a lot of RPG games struggle with, is linking your character's appearance with his armor. I just don't know why they do it. I don't understand why they do it, but a lot of RPGs do it. And I don't know if you notice, my character, he looks like a bit of a Fruit Loop right now. He looks like a bit of an asshat. And the reason why he looks like a bit of an asshat is because of the armor that he's wearing. And the reason he's wearing the armor that he's wearing is because it's the strongest armor that I have. So essentially that the armor that you are wearing also equates to your visual appearance of your particular character. So if I were to change my character's chest piece and take it, okay, I could run topless, for example, which is probably not what I want to do. But if I wanted to maybe wear something that was like this, right, a relatively casual looking Witcher, right, looks almost like it's a standard shirt, right? That looks kind of cool. It looks kind of badass. A couple swords on his back, right, walking around killing monsters. That looks kind of cool, right? What are some of the other ones that I have? Even that one doesn't look too bad, right? A little bit regal, right? Looks quite classy, right? But I have to wear the asshat armor because the asshat armor essentially is my best armor. That is the armor that is going to give me the best defense when I go out and I fight enemies and people. I don't like that at all. I really don't. This is an empowering game. You are a mutant monster slaying badass. That is a empowering premise for a video game. It really is. Let me do it while looking cool. Let me do it if I want to. Let me do it while I'm topless, right? Or let me do it while I'm wearing something that looks relatively half decent. That looks okay. I don't mind the look of that at all. This here looks like I killed some fat warlord and stole his armor. The size of that chest plate is ridiculous. And I don't know why games do it. I really don't know why games do it. Simple fix, man. Give me some sort of defensive stats, or maybe lock all your defensive stats behind your trousers, your boots, and your gloves, and leave your chest armor as purely as an aesthetic, as a visual sort of decision. I don't know. It's just something that kind of grinds my gears with this particular game. The initial armor that you bought was actually really, really neat. That you got when the start of the game was actually my favorite armor. But you can't use that right now because it's because obviously this stuff is stronger. The Temerian armor set, the DLC armor set, was also one that was very, very cool as well. But again, you can't wear it because you need to wear your stronger stuff. And now, because I'm level 13 and I'm well into the story, you need to rely on your stronger armor in order to help you out. But overall, what do I think about The Witcher 3? I know I've kind of gone on a rant about things that I don't like over the last few minutes, but I mean, let's not forget, I've put over 100 hours into this game, and I wouldn't put 100 hours into this game unless I thought it was really, really good. Unless I thought that it was fun and it was worth my time. And it absolutely is worth my time. And I think it's worth your time too. If you are someone who's maybe looking to find something, maybe you're looking for something that isn't a shooter, or that isn't something that you've been playing for a while now, and you're looking for something to satisfy your RPG itch, which is really why I got into this game, then I think this game can be very much enjoyable for you. I think there's a lot of things to do. There's a really interesting story. There's just an open world that is bustling with a whole bunch of different cool, fun activities to do. There's some really fascinating characters that you get to meet. There's just a ton of stuff to do. If you want to play Gwent all day, you can play Gwent all day. If you want to go horse racing or get into some sort of fighting pits and challenge yourself, there's a lot of just things that you can do where you can just have so much fun. And I think that's the point that if there's one takeaway that I want to give from you guys, is that this game is a lot of fun. It really is a lot of fun. I think it's worth your time. Even if I stopped playing this game right now, let's just say I didn't put any more hours into this game, I would feel like I totally got my money's worth. And there's no chance to stop playing this game anytime soon, because there is, like I said, a whole story that I have to do yet, and tons more stuff. I showed you guys the minimap already. A lot of stuff that I have to do. But hopefully you guys found this video informative and enjoyed it. If you did, let me know. If you have any questions, hit me up. There's a ton of people playing The Witcher right now, so if you have any questions, hit me up or hit one of them up. If you're on the fence, just stop being on the fence. Go and get this game. I'm pretty sure you guys are going to enjoy it. That's it all for me. Hope you guys enjoy. Thanks for watching the video. Take care.